What's your name?
I'm Cam.
Hey, nice to meet you. I have a few questions about marijuana and the legalization of it in the States. Do you have some time?
Yes, I have plenty of time.
Okay, so question number 1. Do you think that college athletes or professional athletes should be suspended or charged for the use of marijuana even though it is not a performance-enhancing drug?
During the off season, no. But during season, probably yes, because you wouldn't want them to do something stupid so they could get caught while under the spotlight of being inside the season. So I guess that's a better answer.
Okay. Congress told DC that they could not legalize marijuana because they didn't have a vote in Congress. What do you think about this?
Well, if they don't have a vote in Congress, then they technically aren't a state. They're like owned by America, so they can't really tell them not to legalize it, so they just decriminalize it, I think. So it's in a gray area at this point.
What do you think about it in the future, though?
Well, I mean, in the future, everybody's going to have legal marijuana. It's going to be like alcohol because it's the same thing as prohibition, so yeah.
Okay. Would you rather, while you're driving, encounter somebody who is under the influence of marijuana or under the influence of alcohol?
I would probably say marijuana because it's easier to... There would be a lot less confrontation. And drunk people are a lot meaner than people that are high, so yeah, probably marijuana.
Thank you very much. Well, that certainly was a really good video, and I feel like it really helped shed some light on a couple of the ethical questions involved with marijuana and its use. I wanted to know what you ladies felt regarding the use of marijuana by athletes either at the college level or professional level.
Well, on a college level, like Cam said in the video, I think it would affect the players in a big way. It would probably make them slower in their performance on the field. They wouldn't make the right decisions. It could cost them the game. You know, there's a bunch of factors that play into, marijuana use, even though it's not a performance enhancement drug. So.
Right, and I think this goes to show where I think as coaches and as fans, we all want the players out there, and the players should too, complete sobriety.
Yeah.
Just physical, their athleticism and their mind healthy, no help whatsoever, just, sober them during the game. And I think this also brings up a good point about the gray areas of, as of right now, where it's legal and where it's not legal, and if the drugs were done in a legal state, and then they get caught in the non-legal state, that just brings up a whole lot of legal issues as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's something interesting to think about.
So do you guys think a player should be suspended for one game or the entire season?
I definitely don't think
just a slap on the wrist?
I don't think it should be an entire season.
It shouldn't be an entire season. We already know that the laws for small possession of marijuana are pretty intense for the amount of trouble that should get them in. So I don't think it should be called a slap on the wrist either. But learning experience or a good talking to, but it shouldn't affect their entire career and on their permanent record as being a bad person. But definitely something should be said to them about it.
I agree.
Okay. Yeah. Now, as far as the issue with driving, of course, as you can see, that was a very difficult question to answer. What do you ladies feel about driving? Would you rather encounter a drunk driver or a driver that's high?
I've said this before. I would just, hopefully not encounter anyone who's on any type of drug while on the highway. But, if I had to choose after looking at other, scientists' research on the matter, it appears that people who are high on marijuana most of the time become more alert while they're at the wheel because they have this sense of paranoia sometimes in the mind. While still it's not a sober mind, research has shown that they're more alert about their surroundings and what they're doing at the wheel than someone who is in a drunken state of mind, which really just impairs all types of judgment. Right. It's just really bad.
And right now, the only thing we have is research and data. So that's the only thing we can go by, to base our decisions on. So.
And I'd also like to point out in more studies that we've seen, like the research we have, most of the time if an individual is involved in a crash or some kind of accident, most of the time, if the individual has marijuana in their system, they also have alcohol in their system. So that's something interesting to think about. alcohol usually has the bigger impact on someone's impairment. So just moving on from that, I'd like to ask a question. We've been talking a lot about recreational marijuana, and another big issue in the United States right now is the legalization of marijuana for medicinal purposes. So I'd just like to ask you guys if you think it should be used legally for medicinal purposes. And many say that it shouldn't, but opium is a form of morphine, and cocaine is a popular substance used for medical purposes. So do you think this is contradictory for someone who's suffering with a medical illness? Because sometimes this is the only way they can get relief. So is it morally wrong to deny someone medical relief by using marijuana?
I personally feel like it is. I know my father had cancer for a number of years, and when he had cancer, I don't know if the laws have changed, but he wasn't allowed to legally get medical marijuana in South Carolina. He had to drive all the way to North Carolina to basically get his prescription for it, and it was just a real inconvenience for somebody going through such a hard time in their life where they don't even want to get out of bed to then have to drive all the way to another state just to seek some sort of relief from the pain that they're feeling.
Well, I think we can all agree that suffering, that anybody that's terminally ill, and to allow them to suffer, we can all probably agree that it's wrong to allow someone to suffer. So if you look at it from that aspect, we shouldn't deny people with a terminal illness to suffer. They're already going through a lot, so that's just adding to more suffering. So we know that is morally wrong.
And I think it's another issue where there are policymakers and leaders who are defining how much pain is felt by someone else, that they have no idea the concept of pain that this other person might be feeling, and they're trying to make legislative decisions about that when there's no way they could know just how that person is personally feeling. So I think that's something to think about too. Yeah,
it's almost like they're the voice for that individual that may be suffering, but and it's not always in their favor. When it's the voice for that person. So
that's exactly right.
Okay. Well, guys, thank you for watching our video today. As we stated earlier, we are Tiger Talk Ethics, and we hope we've given you some interesting food for thought.